Before I jump in and just show you the answers, I want to make sure you're all aware you will have to show your work by hand on test. This trick in your calculator can be used to check. It's a very, very useful tool. However, it doesn't substitute you showing me that you know the formulas and you know how these things work. With that in mind, we've got a great trick. Let's talk about number 110 from your homework last night. It said the summation of n equals 1 to 7 of 5 times by 2 to the power of n minus 1. It asked you to write out the number of write out the terms 1 to 7. So everybody went ahead and said, okay, the first term is 5 times by 2 to the power of 1 minus 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 2 to the power of 0 is 5 times by 1. So my first term is 5. And we kept this up all the way until we got to the last term, 5 times by 2 to the power of 7 minus 1. So that was 5 times by 2 to the power of 6. And when you plug that in your calculator, you got 320. And you had a whole bunch of numbers in here. I think it was 20, 10, 20, 40, 80. 160 and 320. But you had to go through this work to get each of those. Today I'd like to show you how to do that in your calculator. You're going to go to the button, Second, and then Stat. Type over to the word that says Ops, and scroll down to number 5 that says Sequence. At this point you can put in your explicit formula. So you're going to put in the explicit formula. In our case, that was 5 times by 2 to the power of x minus 1. Make sure you've got that x minus 1. The whole power needs to be in parentheses, whole exponent. Once you do that, you need to tell the calculator what variable you were using. So we say comma x, define your variable. Then the calculator wants to know, where does your sequence begin and end? Ours began at the first term and it ends at the 7th term. So we're going to say start at the first, end at the 7th, close your parentheses. So write the explicit formula, define the variable. You're going to say the start number, comma, the end number, term number, and then close your parentheses and hit enter. Notice it pops out 5, 10, 20, 40, 80, 160, 320. Those were the numbers you spent all that time calculating. So the first trick is that if you're asked to write out the terms of a sequence, you can do that in your calculator. The next trick is that if you're actually asked to find the summation, so what is this equal to? Well, yesterday we learned that's the same as adding up all of these numbers. If I were to plug those in my calculator and add them up, I would get 635. So the longhand way to do this is come up with all 7 terms and add them together. The shorthand calculator way uses this idea of our sequence, but we're going to use one more step ahead of it. We're going to say second stat, scroll over to the button that says Math, and then scroll down to the button 5 for sum. We'd like to sum our series. Whoops, I'm sorry, you can't see that. So now I'm going to go back and say second stat, this time going to my ops and choose the sequence. So sum my sequence, and now we've got to tell it what it is. 5 times by 2 to the power of x minus 1. Define your variable x. You start at the first term. You end at the 7th term. And there you have it, the answer.